this is such a huge thing what you're talking about right now with parents are, you're absolutely right, optimizing for the wrong end goal. Because right now, the way that we treat K through 12 education is that the end goal is to go to college. The end goal is not to be educated. The end goal is not to get a career that is actually good for the life that you want to live. And the biggest thing, after I talked to you last time, I was thinking about this and I really wanted to talk about this. But the biggest thing is that people have conflated college and education and career and technical trainings, or CTE is what they're calling it in the public schools now. And I think that we have to break these things out so that we can distinguish where the failures are and where you are actually putting your efforts and your educational budget, because that's something that I want to really reframe in people's minds, because the amount of money they're going to spend on this is staggering, and they're not spending it in a way that will make their child educated, and they're not spending it in a way that will help their child have a good career either. And that's the biggest thing, is if American families, it reminds me of healthcare, right? We spend so much and our results are poor. And the same thing is true of, I'll put in quotes, higher education, because I'm actually tired of calling it that. I don't want to call it that anymore. I don't think it deserves that label, because it's failing at such a high rate, and all it's doing is turning our number one export as a country into student loan debt. And I don't see that as higher education. I see this as a system that we should no longer grace with that label, and it's something we really need to start to zoom out, especially as parents, and go, is this actually going to fit the needs of my child? If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, even better. Now you can take all of this educational spend and you can put it towards things that really help your child do what they want to do. And that's the biggest thing. So for some people too, and I think we talked about this last time, but the definition of success, and I just saw Naval Ravikant talking about this with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I think this is such an insightful take, but he said, the biggest sign of intelligence is getting what you want in life. And that is interesting, because that's basically how we define success as well at Degree Free, which is, do you get what you want out of life, whatever that is? You want to have 7 cats, you want to have 5 kids and a spouse, right? You want to have a homestead, you want to have a paid off apartment in a small little town that you like, you want to have a small business, you want to have a big business, right? You want to be a brain surgeon. For some people, it is career focused, but for everybody else, we really need to think about what is success to us. And this is one of the questions that I ask young adults in the Launch program. And that is, picture yourself, 5 to 7 years from now. And I say, I ask them, where's somewhere that you go out to eat with your family a lot? And then they'll tell me a restaurant, because now they're picturing a place that they understand, that they know well, that they can picture the booths and the ambiance and the conversations they've had with their family. And, this could be anything from Chick-fil-A to, a local Mexican restaurant or whatever. And they say, oh, this such and such place. And I'll say, okay, so imagine you met your parents, and your siblings for lunch at this place 5 to 7 years from where you're at now. And I said, you guys have a great lunch, you catch up, and then you pay for lunch, because that makes them feel good. And then I say, all right, and you go out, you get in your car and you close the door. And as you close the door, you just take a breath and you go, wow, I'm really happy with where my life is going. I'm really content with that. You don't have everything you want yet, but you are very happy with the direction your life is going. And I ask them, what do they have at that point? Where are they that makes them feel that? Because that's the direction they need to go.